All right, what's up, guys? So welcome to another Sunday Talk and Drive Bimmer Invasion edition. So thought I'd put a capper on the entire Invasion experience, share a couple of stories about the event. Really unbelievable show. I don't know if you caught the video that I made of it. It was kind of like a vlog style video that included I think it was almost like an hour's worth of footage of all the cars. So definitely the longest video that I've done so far. And certainly the most amount of footage of cars, but definitely encourage you to check it out because we filmed almost every car that was there. And I mean, a more concentrated place of amazing BMW builds you will not see. So, I mean, there's some other great BMW events coming up this year. Probably the Keys Auto Show in July, Impact, and there's some other ones, but yeah, the BMW or the Bimmer Invasion show was really, you know what I loved most about that show? I mentioned this on an Instagram post, I think, but it really was well organized. I mean, it wasn't just like most, big car shows like that have good organization, but I mean, they had police there. They had, employees of Desertland Park that were helping out. And then of course everybody in the Bimmer Invasion crew, but it was just really well organized. I mean, they kept, traffic moving. Everybody got guided into a parking space. Really well thought out, really well done. I mean, this is their fourth or fifth one, I forget, but I mean, it seems that they've got the process down. So I really appreciated just how well put together it was, the layout of everything, where they, had all the vendor tents, and then they had all the cars lined, sort of on the inside of the, I don't know if it's not a mall, but whatever, the park, the inside of the park, and they had, tons of cars lined up along the hallways and stuff like that. And then of course I think it was called the VIP room, where they had some of the, really nice show cars. So again, hats off to the Invasion crew for just a well-organized event. But anyway, so yeah, we made the drive down, split it Thursday and Friday, got to our hotel around, I guess it was 3:30 on Friday. And the first order of business was figuring out how to get the car washed. So as you can imagine, 15-hour drive split over 2 days with, rain and certainly the volume of bugs and insects and everything else coming into Florida. The front of the car looked like a crime scene. So in anticipation of this, I did bring down, a sort of scaled down car washing kit. So the plan was, we'll find a self-service car wash place, like one of the bays that you can get with the power washer. And ahead of time, I looked around to see if there were a bunch in the Orlando area. Thought I saw some, but not, kind of forgetting how big Orlando actually is. So I bring down buckets, soap, tons of rags, and a wash mitt, a wheel mitt, brushes, just the whole thing, all the different chemicals, drying aids and interior wipe down and everything, hyper dressing. And so we get to the hotel, kind of get settled in, get checked in, and cannot find a car wash place anywhere nearby. I think the closest one that appeared to be a self-service was about 10 miles away, but at that point you're driving 10 miles to wash your car, to drive 10 miles back to the hotel, and it's gonna get a little dirty again. So end up finding this one place that was right across the street from the hotel. By the way, the hotel we stayed at, highly recommended. It was literally across the street from, I know people abuse the word literally, but in this case it actually is applicable. It was literally across the street from Desertland Park. I mean, you could just walk there. And it was a really nice hotel. But anyway, and I would mention it, but I think it was Town Suites by Marriott. I think that was it. Anyway, so now we're looking around. We find this, what I thought was a self-service place, 0.7 miles, so right around the corner from the hotel. So we get there, and it's a gas station with one of those little drive-through car washes, except for they hollowed it out and I guess rented the space out to someone that has a detailing business. So it's 4 o'clock. I see they close at 5, and I'm like, uh-oh. So call up, and the guy was like, yeah, come on down. It's like, okay. So we get there, and now to back up a little bit, when we were kind of getting luggage and everything out of the car, I see this amazing E46 M3 across the parking lot. It's a beautiful blue, wide body kit, the whole deal. So I'm checking this car out. So, we get settled in the hotel, and then go to the car wash. And sure enough, going in the other side, here comes the same E46 M3, presumably there for the same reason, to get his car washed. So then we end up pulling up. We came in like opposite sides, but got spots right next to each other. So we're kind of wandering around, like figuring out how this works, because there's nobody there. There's other people waiting for a car wash. So we kind of start making, small talk. And I'm like, hey man, mind if I, take some video of your car? Because I figure, pre-game footage, and it's a stunning M3. So I start taking some video. We get to talking. I included this on the Bimmer Invasion video, but it's a little. Apologies for the crappiness of the video, because first of all, I'm on I don't have the good gimbal, so I'm on a handheld, and I'm too busy talking to the guy, and he's telling me about the car, and I'm paying more attention to the car than I am attempting to film it, but nonetheless. So I'm filming this thing, and then we get to talking, and the story behind this car. So the whole point of this is that, we end up at this car wash thinking maybe it might be a self-serve, but it's not. And then in the meantime, I end up catching up with this guy with this insane M3. We get to talking, and so I'm distracted. Apologies. Anyway, story behind this car is, so it's a 2002 E46 M3 that was built by Craig Lieberman. Now, I'm embarrassed to say I don't know the name Craig Lieberman. I know his work, but I don't know the name. So if you don't either, he is the guy responsible for the Supra and the R34 in the first two Fast and Furious movies. He built the Supra, built the R34, and in fact, I'm going to include it below in the description. I included the link to this video in the Bimmer Invasion video also, but Jonathan from Thick Whips did a fantastic interview, or made a video about this car specifically. And included a huge segment where Craig Lieberman talks about how this car came to be from, a 2002 M3 that he bought to what it eventually ended up being, and then how it came to be in this guy's collection. This guy, Rusty Johnson, the guy from the car wash, fantastic guy. So I'm walking around talking about, he's telling me the story about this car, and I'm just fascinated. So this car, again, E46 M3. It was bought and built by Craig Lieberman, and after he did the second Fast and Furious movie, where he was a technical advisor or consultant on both. So he comes back, and now he's got this M3 that he previously bought. I don't know if he knew what he was going to do with it. So he gets word that they're going to make a third Fast and Furious movie, and he starts building this car up to be a show car to be in the movie. And the story is it was supposed to be in a scene with Vin Diesel leaning up against it in the third Fast and Furious. And what ended up happening, Vin Diesel backed out of the movie. I think he ended up making a cameo in it, but he backed out of the script, and they then completely rewrote the entire movie to be Tokyo Drift, which of course included all right-hand drive cars, which meant that there was no room for a left-hand drive E46. So the car did not get used for that movie, but did actually end up in another movie. He mentions which one, but I forget. And then, of course, it's been in just countless magazine articles, website articles, stuff like that. So the car has gotten a lot of attention, a lot of press. And then in 2005, Rusty, by whatever means, gets involved and gets to, buys the car. So now he's owned that thing since 2005, going on 18 years. He's brought it to, of course, countless car shows and everything else. So he's telling me the story about this car. Of course, I'm very aware of the Fast and Furious franchise. I've been a fan of it since probably 02, 03. And so I'm like, wow, and then, of course, he's showing everything on the inside of the, all the engine work and everything. And he didn't just buy the car and leave it as is. I mean, to his credit, he's continued building on it. And I think the most recent thing he was talking about was the guys from Active Auto Work, put a supercharger kit in it. And his car was actually at the CES 10 at Bimmer Invasion. So we're talking about cars and everything like that. And mind you, so we're now in line for this car wash. It's about 45 minutes to an hour per car, because they hand detail like every car, and it's like an assembly line. But initially it was only like two guys. I think finally they crew of like 5 people, but it was only like 2 guys that were working on cars, one of them being the owner. And so we're now realizing that we've got quite a wait, but it's earlier in the evening. It's like 5 o'clock, 4:30, 5 o'clock by this point. So, we're, I think, the fourth and fifth car back from where they were at the time that we got there. So they did not end up closing at 5. I mean, those guys, God bless them, they were working till, I think, well past midnight. But anyway, so as we're waiting for the cars to get washed and everything like that, which was a whole other thing because, I've gotten very finicky about the car washing process, and, I don't really care to let anybody else wash my car, but, in that situation, it was kind of like you really had no choice. But I will say, it was a fantastic place to find because they really did. I think they did an excellent job. I mean, they were changing the water out in between. They used foam cannons. They had like air compressors to spray out all the, all the water bits from, the trim and the wheels and everything else. And I mean, they really did like hand detail everything. So, so those guys did a phenomenal job with our cars in preparation for the show. So anyway, so we're waiting in line and we're, again, kind of BSing about cars and life and everything else. And then we kind of are thinking now it's getting a little bit late and we're both looking to get dinner. Well, my son and I and Rusty. So we ended up, both were fanatics of steakhouses. So we're kind of like, hey, let's get dinner together. So we ended up finished up the cars, got back to the hotel, called an Uber, went to Capitol Grill, which I highly recommend. Fantastic steakhouse. It's like a chain, but really, really good steakhouse. So we get to Capitol Grill and have a phenomenal dinner. Again, talking life, cars, careers, everything else. Get back to the hotel, called it a night, and then, did the show the next day. So it was just like a chance meeting for this insanely great car. Phenomenal guy, by the way. Rusty could not have been just a nicer guy to hang out with, have a dinner with. And it really was a sort of model example of like going to a car show, meeting some cool people, and just, having a great story out of it, having a great time, and a friend at any show that I see him at. So, and also he just happens to be vice president of the BMW Car Club of America, the BMW CCA in South Carolina. So also some pretty cool stories about that, and obviously very involved in the BMW car scene down there. Also has a couple of other BMWs in his collection, which are enviable. One of them being an E30 Technica, which is like, I mean, that car was beautiful. He was showing us pictures of that. I want to say he also had an E60, but I don't remember. But yeah, just a nice collection of some really, really nice Beamers. And of course, the Uber M3, which was, as it was termed by Craig Lieberman, the E46. So, I mean, that car, I'll include the link to Jonathan's video. But yeah, if you're at all interested in stuff like this, I highly encourage you to check it out. The story from Craig was very interesting. Talking with Rusty. There's actually another video that I found too on another channel where they were at a BMW dealership, I think. And I don't know if it was like a scheduled meetup or whatever, but he did an interview about the car there. And like I said, it's been in countless magazines and everything else. So very interesting story. So anyway, day of the show. We get settled in, get our spot, got there, I guess, the gates opened up at like 8:30. I think we got in line at about 8:45 or something like that. So it's a huge line getting everybody in. But again, to the credit of the Bimmer Invasion staff and everybody that was involved, I mean, they did a really, really good job of organizing it, getting everybody in and registered, kind of flowing with the car. So you didn't have to they had people just walking around from car to car, getting you checked in and everything, and wristbands and whatnot. So really well put together. And yeah, so we get there, get settled in, and get time to sort of give the car another wipe. I wiped it down with some drying aid the night before because it rained a little bit and there was a little bit of morning dew or moisture or whatever. So I ended up wiping down the car at the hotel. Then, of course, drove it right across the street to the park. And then gave it another little wipe down. And then, it was kind of off to the races of walking around, checking out all the cars. And we did sort of like a pre-lap, before, because the general admission opened up at 10 o'clock. So we had a good hour or so to kind of walk around beforehand. And then went around and officially did like all the filming that we could get. And it was a task, but it was a lot of fun. I mean, I generally try to film everything as much as I can whenever I do like a car show type event. But I will say that I think in terms of, I think they're fun to film. I think they're just, fun to get all the cars and get them up online for anybody who maybe was there and gets to see their car, or if you weren't there but were interested in the event, you want to see what it's like and what other kind of cars were there. Generally, why I try to get as much footage as I can to put online. But I will say that even though generally, even as small as my channel is, the car show videos usually don't attract too much traffic, but the Bimmer Invasion video has for the size of my channel, it seemed to have gotten a pretty good amount of traction. So certainly seems to be some interest for the BMW car show. So I will definitely be filming any other one that I can get to. So now we're at the show, we're walking around filming all these cars. And it's kind of interesting because, like, a lot of these cars you see on Instagram, you know them from Instagram, you kind of know the people who own them, but like for the most part, I think it's the cars that you know best. So it's weird seeing them in person. Someone's like, hey, I know that car, it's from whatever state. So there was definitely a lot of that. And also seeing the Keys Motorsports G80 M3 in person, that was just weird. I mean, I've been watching Keys Motorsports videos since before I took delivery of my car, sort of in anticipation for it. Like at the point that I knew I was buying an M3, and I'm on, YouTube, like binge watching everything, M3 related content from, in particular from Keys Motorsports, Tommy L Garage, all those guys. So, seeing the Keys G80, I've certainly watched a lot of those videos too. It was like, mini celebrity kind of thing. It was just weird. It was like, wow, I don't know if you know what I mean, but it's kind of what it seemed like. So, but anyway, so we're walking around checking all these cars out, and a lot of the indoor, showroom cars, which were beautiful. I mean, just stunning examples of these M3s, M4s, whatever. I would also say that, like, I think probably there were more F-Gen cars than anything else, which kind of makes sense. I mean, that was like the most recent production and probably more easily attainable, unless you find like a good specimen, older generation car, or had it or something like that. But certainly more F-Gen cars than anything else. A lot of current generation M's. But I didn't see a whole lot of E36s. So, I mean, there were a couple, but I would say there was probably even more E30s than E36s. So again, the car show was awesome. I mean, if you were looking to go to just a really solid, and especially BMW car show, Invasion is it. And certainly if they do it again next year in Orlando, which is where I think all of the ones so far that they've done have been in Orlando. And we wanted to go to the one last year. I forget why we couldn't go. But we were thinking about going to that one as our first one. For whatever reason, couldn't make it, but I did not want to miss it this year. So, and yeah, I have every intention of going to every other one, because just as good of a show as it was, and all the really, really cool people that you get to catch up with, and especially people that you know from online and everything like that. So it is definitely worth doing. So if you haven't gone before, really, really recommend it. So we get done at the car show and go back to the hotel, drop off all the camera stuff and everything. And we're like, dude, we got to get food, right? So right next to right across the street on the other side from the hotel is Bahama Breeze. So me and the kid, we go there, and they don't have any tables, so they're like, hey, do you mind sitting at the bar? So we're hanging out at the bar, strike up a conversation with the bartender about, car show stuff, because she'd mentioned knowing that there was a car show in town, saw a lot of BMWs, so like, oh yeah, Bimmer Invasion at Desertland Park, and we're talking about that a little bit. And there's a woman sitting like, 2 chairs down who overhears the conversation. Turns out I think she said her, but definitely her daughter, were at the show. And so we got talking about stuff. She was, apparently pretty active in like the underground street racing scene in like the early 90s. She had an 83 Mazda RX-7, which I think is kind of badass. My sister had an 85 RX-7 with vanity plate XLR8. Wonder if that's available. Like, I might try to go and see if I can't reclaim that. I don't know whatever happened to that. But anyway, so we get to talking about stuff, and again, she's saying that, her daughter was there, and I was like, yeah, I was filming stuff because I got a YouTube channel and I was making a video for it, but, unfortunately for the exhaust competition and the burnout competition, I really couldn't get too close, because by the time I was aware of where it was, it had already started. I was filming some other stuff, and by the time I made my way over there, I mean, it was a wall of people, like several rows thick, and yeah, trying to get up to like get a clear shot was not gonna happen. So I tried to do the whole, I had the camera on the gimbal, so I tried like raising it like over everybody, and was able to get a little bit of a shot from there, but I mean, it wasn't very good. So turns out her and her daughter were like practically, like not practically, but actually right in front, like nobody in front of them. They were in front for both competitions, and very generously was like, yeah, I'll send you all my footage. So she, like sends me every single picture and video that they got, and pretty much all of the video. I think there was like one or two that was like start and stops where there wasn't really any like exhaust happening at the moment, but like 99% of the footage that she sent, I ended up using in the video. And actually, I noted this in the description of the Bimmer Invasion video, but I thought it was cool that at one point, I was filming at the same time during the exhaust competition that they were. So as I realized that we both had the same footage, obviously theirs from a better, vantage point, but I matched, like I synced up the audio, and then that one little section was able to make it look like there was multicam going on. So the audio was like synced up perfectly. And then so I kind of bounced back and forth from their footage to mine. And actually it kind of worked out because there was one part where there was like a small, like 3-second gap in their footage that I had running. So it kind of like filled in that space and made it seem like a longer continuous scene. So, I mean, I don't know. That was just awesome. Again, demonstrates just, some really amazing people that you can meet at car shows and the car community in general. I mean, everybody has a very similar mindset. They're just, pretty laid back and looking to share their, car passion and everything else. So it was definitely an enjoyable overall experience. Couldn't say enough good things about it. So this year we're looking forward to, again, going to Impact. I want to do the Keys Auto Show also, but usually that is 4th of July weekend, and I think that was the reason why we couldn't go last year. We had something else on the books that we were doing like vacation-wise, but certainly, and that's not far away at all. I mean, it's at an airfield near Atlantic City, which is only probably about a 2-hour drive north, so certainly if we don't have anything going on that weekend, we're definitely going to do the Keys Auto Show. And of course, whatever other car shows. We'll probably do a lot of the same ones this year. Unfortunately, I don't know about the Shades of the Past just because they're changing that. The location, they're not doing it in Pigeon Forge anymore, so that's a bummer. But we might make the trek out to Bristol for it, depending on what the kid's college situation is. I think by that point in September, like he'd already be settled in if he goes to, wherever he's going. So if he goes out of state, he'll be settled in at that point. We can probably make the trek out there. So I don't know, we'll see. But I am definitely excited either way for the summer season of car shows. Lancaster Supercar Cruise, definitely going to do that again if they have that, which they probably will. I mean, the one that we went to last year was, I think, the 5th annual, whatever. So if they're doing that, that was a great show, really good time there. And again, whatever other ones that we can find. They're just, beers and gears probably the summer one over the fall one. The fall one wasn't bad, but I thought the summer one was a bit more enjoyable. I thought it had like a better presence, and there was a lot more people at that one. But the fall one was still fun, so maybe both of those as well. And then probably like, a couple local shows or whatever. So I don't know. Last year was really the first year that I'd ever taken a car to a car show, and I seem to be kind of hooked on it. So it's a good time and getting to talk to people and everything else. So, but anyway, straying from Bimmer Invasion. So we ended up just kind of hanging out around the hotel, and ended up leaving the next morning at, like I said, about 6. So we started getting ready at like 5, and then headed out at 6. And like I said, it really was not that. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. But one interesting thing that I thought was, certainly the longest continuous one-day car drive that I've ever done. So when I got home, like, it wasn't dizziness. I wouldn't classify it as like a lightheadedness, but I guess it's like 15 hours of just the road and everything around you whizzing by, that it was hours that I still felt like I was moving. Like, I got in, and in fact, I did a quick little video when I got home with the, kind of like an outro to the Bimmer Invasion video, because again, it was like a vlog style thing. So it was sort of like a little outro to, demonstrate again the insane bug massacre on the front of my car. Didn't want to leave it like that overnight, so I broke out that's an interesting right-hand drive I don't even know what that was. Anyway, I had to break out the power washer and spray some of the stuff off. Turns out I looked at it the next day in the light when I actually went to go wash the car, and it didn't do very much, but I don't know. It was amusing. So, but I kind of noticed in the videos, like I look like kind of bug-eyed there. And yeah, I just, after that long of a drive, man, like it just felt like everything is still sort of whizzing by you. It was a strange experience. Not uncomfortable, but it was just weird. So anyway, so that is pretty much the Bimmer Invasion experience. Could not say enough good stuff about it. Got to meet Rusty, hang out with him, his beautiful M3. Got to meet Carly, talk about cars. Nice enough to share all of her footage, which made it into the video, which I think made it better, including those things, because again, I wasn't getting any kind of good coverage about it, and it was a big deal part of the show. Advertised as such, you had to enroll for it ahead of time if you were going to be in the exhaust or burnout competition. The exhaust competition I think might have been cool to do. I don't think my car is in a state to do it, but I'm probably going to do the active auto work. Man, the exhaust is that's a whole other talk, I guess. But essentially, I think I'm going to do the active auto work, high flow catted downpipes this year, but sort of torn on the exhaust. I love my exhaust. I think it's good, but I think adding the downpipes is going to make it an absolute beast. But if it doesn't, then I might look into some other options, Valvetronic being one of them. So I don't know, but that's a whole other conversation. Again, I think the exhaust does sound phenomenal, but it needs more. Especially, you know what? That is a takeaway from Bimmer Invasion, by the way. Not only, how great, again, reaffirming just how awesome people in the car community are and everything like that. And that is something that I really do love about the car community, just the passion that people have for their cars and wanting to share that experience with other people. It's not new to me, certainly, but again, it's walking on the 2-lane road, bro. Not smart. Anyway, but it is something that was definitely reaffirmed with the Bimmer Invasion video, or Bimmer Invasion experience, but also, it kind of, like, you go to a car show like that, especially with, all BMWs, and you tend to get a lot of good ideas, take away, like, it's something I want to do with my car and whatever, but seeing, like, so many other people's builds and, stuff like that, it kind of got me thinking that, like, I'm very happy with where my car is at this point, and I know that it's a long, sort of work in progress, and that it is by no means done, but boy, oh boy, do I, have I sort of, like, when I got this thing, I mean, we're talking, over 2 years at this point, but when I got it, it was like, holy crap, I have an M3, that's amazing. Let me just kind of, take that in for a little while. And then it was like, okay, I want to do some upgrades to it, want to, add some mods and stuff like that. But I didn't really have any particular, like, big scale plans to make this one thing or another. I just wanted to do some incremental upgrades. By this point, I'd long since been watching videos of people doing mods to their cars, wanted to, do that as well, because there were, I mean, as great as this car is, I mean, there's tons of things that can be made better. But, and not necessarily with the whole Bimmer Invasion experience, but even leading up to that, I've sort of come up to the sort of conclusion that, like, I really want to build this thing out to be a monster. And certainly after being at Invasion and seeing some of the builds there, it's just like, yeah, I really want to make this thing obnoxious. Just power, styling, everything. And so exhaust certainly is playing into that, but I went from, like, I want to, up the exhaust note a little bit, to I don't think I'm going to do straight piped, but, like, I kind of want to do a straight piped. But I just want it to be, not ridiculous, because, I mean, it is a daily driver. It is, I do try to, be somewhat calm in the neighborhood with it. So obviously retain valve control and not have it be too crazy. But given the opportunity on the road and whatever, definitely want to make this thing kick it up a notch. So again, I think the downpipes are going to contribute to that. And then, if that doesn't solidify the exhaust as I sort of imagine it to be, well, then we'll explore maybe switching out some of the components or whatever. I think the addition of the active auto work, high flow catted downpipes are gonna be exactly what I want in this, but we'll see. But there are plenty of other options there, and I think exhaust is one of those things that you really want to get right. That's just, I don't want to be, like, okay with the exhaust. Like, I want it to to be really dialed in. So again, we'll see. I think the downpipes will do it, but if not, plenty of other options out there. I think the Valvetronic will be something that I look at if I'm not completely happy with the sound of the exhaust by then, but we'll see. All right, guys, well, I think that is about it. Hope you enjoyed this conversation, this talk, nice little Sunday drive, recapping the wonderful Invasion experience. A lot more stuff in queue, so if you have not subscribed, consider doing so, and feel free to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and I will catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching. I love this car. Oh my God, so much fun. It's just not even, that's just not fair. It's so good.